Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. Today, our guest is Mr. Daniel Cole. Daniel is the founder and executive director of Pay What You Can peer support groups. So Daniel, welcome to our podcast today. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do for work?
Sure. So I'm actually an insurance broker during the day, but I started this Pay What You Can peer support last May 1st. It was sort of an idea that I had for like 5 years. My own experience with OCD, with going to peer support in downtown Toronto, and I always sort of wanted to make this a reality. And I guess just with the coronavirus, and we didn't have to pay our taxes, and so I thought I had more money than I did, and just the whole convergence of events. I was like, okay, you know what, let's do this, and I did, and. Karen, we met maybe a couple months ago, right? Like September, October, November, something like that. So you're one of our, 30 moderators, and you actually run like 4 groups, right? You run 2 eating disorder groups, and then the military peer support, and then a healing and trauma group, or what's that?
Trauma recovery. Yep.
So it's been a wonderful journey, and it hasn't even been a year, but I've been really, really busy with it. Every day I have phone calls, and I look at it as a garden, and you're just planting a lot of seeds, and you're seeing what works, and it's an entrepreneurial thing, which I love being an entrepreneur, and it's a mental health thing, and I have a passion there. And so it's really it's not even a passion project. I call it a purpose project, because it really does give me a lot of purpose.
Awesome. So I didn't realize I've been thinking about it for 5 years. Yeah. And I know COVID happened, and so some people had a little more time. But how did you pick, or why did you pick the group topics that you did? Like what met the criteria? Because I noticed you have a lot of trauma groups, which is, of course, one of my niche.
Also just on why everyone sort of started a business during COVID. I mean, it's a real phenomenon, I feel. But I think maybe the governments all gave their people money and slack. And, we were just like, all right, let's just do our thing that we always wanted to do. Maybe, I don't know. But the groups, I started off, I think the first day I was like, okay, I'm going to do like 4 groups. And then I kind of Googled like top 10 mental problems, illnesses, whatever. And it was like 9. And so I had 9. And then as I was talking to different moderators, they were like, oh, I really, I specialize in this, or I specialize in that. And I just kept adding different groups based on, because I'm so new to this world. I don't know, I know of OCD because that's the thing that I had. And so, but everything else, like each of the groups that we run is a whole world unto itself. You could have a site just for eating disorders. You could have a site just for trauma. You could have a site just for, you name it. So yeah, I just, I was really taking the lead from each of the moderators who I spoke to, and just knew what I didn't know, and just kind of, and it's continuing to be a very collaborative project.
Yes. One of the things that stood out to me that I thought was pretty cool is that, you're based in Canada, but you didn't let borders, limit your reach, in terms of providers and likely participants. So tell us where everyone is located in the world that's a moderator on your podcast, not on your podcast, in your peer support group.
Maybe it's something, as being a Canadian, like we always look at the American market as like, you can, like I do my insurance just in Canada because that's where I'm licensed, and it's enough, right? But if you're selling like a product, let's say, you always want to get into America, the American market. So from my world before I was an insurance broker, I was in the children's toy business with my father was in it for 30 years. And so, we were always like selling to America and had distributors all over the world. And I love international business. I love the different cultures. I love traveling. So it was always going to be an international thing. And it's like this morning, I got somebody who was messaging the site from Pakistan, and he wrote me this whole long thing about like he's having these thoughts, and I go, oh, hey, you probably have a form of OCD there, and sign up for our group. So I really would love it to be people from all over the world coming into the groups. So that's maybe just my mentality with it all. But yeah, we have a moderator in the UK. We have another one in South Africa. We have another one in Mexico City. Of the 30, and then the rest are Canadian predominantly, I think, and then you and a couple others, maybe 5 others are from the US.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I ever told you, but I lived 9 years in New Brunswick.
You did tell me that.
So my dad's Canadian.
Where are you born?
Maine.
You're born in Maine. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You like lobster?
I love lobster. It's so good. So good. So how about the listener that doesn't have a whole lot of money? Like how is the pay done on the sites, and is it something for them to be embarrassed about or no?
I mean, it's free essentially, but we call it pay what you can because there is, if you called it free therapy, there is sort of a psychological association with it being like cheap or something, and it's really not. It's the sessions are all moderated by licensed practitioners like yourself, and so they do the session, and then at the end they get an email out saying, how did you like the session, and please pay what you can. So we're getting people that are leaving 20 US, I would say, on average. Some people have left 50 US. Some people have left 2 US. So it really ranges. But, it's a nonprofit, and my goal is to raise money through grants and donations and stuff like that so that I could pay you, if, let's say, no one shows up, or let's say 6 people show up and no one leaves anything. I want to still pay you your normal hourly rate because it's all about, the product at the end of the day is a good moderator. And it's just, it's invaluable and priceless to have good moderators. So it's very important that I keep you guys happy.
Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful model. And like we've talked about before, sometimes it just takes some time before things pick up and after you plant all those seeds.
Yeah. Well, it came from an idea. This is back in 2009. I traveled Europe, and you went on these free tour guides, these free tours. And then at the end, they go, please tip your tour guide. And everyone gave like 5 or 10 euros, and there were like 60 people there. So I was like, oh, this is a really good model because you're going to get people. And then everyone's like, yeah, whatever, I'll give you my change in my pocket. So in the group that I went to, the OCD group that I went to in Toronto, it was free. And I would have always liked to have left a 10 or a 20 of our funny money.
Okay. So what else would you like us to know? Like, are you going to write a book about your experiences? Like, what else can you do to help trauma survivors or clients struggling with a mental health issue? Do you have resources on your site?
We don't. It's a very new sort of site, but, as much as we can do, and if it makes sense to, have resources, we'll do that. And it really is it's a very new venture, and the partnerships in the future that we're going to have are numerous and limitless. And so I hope that when somebody comes to the site, they kind of see all the different groups and one resonates with them. And then they basically have a free, accessible, it's virtual, pay what you can kind of option there. And, for me too, like it was expensive to go see my psychologist all those years, $200. And I think the idea of peer support is kind of like the Groupon of mental health therapy, right? Where a whole bunch of you can all get the moderator's time for an hour. And that also was an influence too, how Groupon worked.
Yeah.
in
And
terms of,
I mean, evidence-based care there's a lot of evidence that group work is extremely effective. And if
right.
you think about it, when you get feedback on a problem you're going through, you're not only getting the moderator's expertise, but you're also getting the life expertise of the members of the group. And sometimes that's just as valuable, and sometimes it's more valuable.
I went to 3 different therapists before I knew that I had OCD. Or I went to 2, and they didn't know what it was. And then I figured it out. My brother, my uncle's brother gave my dad a book for me to read called Brain Lock, and it really changed everything. Then I went to see a specialist in OCD. But, and then I went to the peer support group. But my point is that a lot of therapists did not know what this was.
Right.
And it's almost like if somebody's like, I called that OCD group OCD and intrusive thinking, because people might not know that they have OCD, pure OCD, and it's like, oh, I'm having intrusive thoughts. Well, that's a form of OCD. It's called pure OCD. If it's a recurring thing and it's tormenting you. And I was really sort of angry that I spent all those years and all that money on somebody who didn't know what the thing was. And you're totally right. There are lessons, maybe sometimes even more valuable, to learn from other people who they're not therapists, but they've had the life experience. But there is, also the other side to that coin of like, be careful, and there's liability issues. And if somebody says something to another member in a group that tips them off, it's right. So it's, but I guess that's a risk that we are always willing to take,
Yeah, well, that's why you decided to have licensed people in there,
Yes.
hopefully qualified to know how to handle those situations.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
So. It's like, could I ever run a group? Like, I suppose I could kind of like do it, but like, what if something happened? Like, I'm not trained for that. I'm an insurance broker who had OCD.
And it's so cool that you developed this, it's really cool. We don't hear that story very often, do we?
Yeah, I guess not. But it was always, insurance, I feel like maybe because I had the mental illness, like probably since I'll be 34 this year, probably since I was 14, I kind of had this thing. And it was like, I read a lot of biographies and psychology books, and I was always kind of a real, autodidact, and just constantly trying to learn, because it was kind of a mystery what was going on with me. And I feel like those books also taught me, like, in order to get out of depression, another tool is like have purpose and do projects that really get you out of bed in the morning. So insurance, after the toy business kind of went kaput, it was like, I want to do something that I have freedom to do other projects that I really want to do. And so insurance kind of checked off a lot of boxes. Like, I can work from home, and I can, so I've been, this whole work from home thing, like, I've been doing it for a long time, working in my PJs. And, but it was always the thing that would pay the bills so that I could do my other projects. Especially, like, I actually write. I'm working on a novel. It's not really the OCD and the mental health, but it kind of is. There's a lot. It's like, what's the word? Autofiction. So it's like autobiographical, but it's fiction, a fiction version of myself. It's called Soulmates, and so it's about all this stuff. It's about love and then mental health. Who could ever learn to love a beast like me, kind of.
Well, when is it coming out?
Well, here's a little, this is like, see, it says number 4 up here. So there's 8 of these, and I'm just typing up my notes for like the 5th time. That's another thing that I've been working on for like 5 years.
Okay.
So I don't know. Hopefully this year I'll get it done, and somebody will be like, oh my God, this is a great book, and publish it. And
well, you can publish yourself too on Amazon.
I did that. I self-published a book in 2011, actually, called The Power of Giving and How It Leads to Success and Happiness. So I was, I've been kind of working this world of writing and passion projects and stuff like that for a long time.
Okay. So say the name of the 2 books again, so people listening, if they're interested.
The first book that I wrote in 2011 is called The Power of Giving and How It Leads to Success and Happiness.
Okay.
And then This one that I'm working on now, it's not done, probably be done by the end of the year, is called Soulmates.
Soulmates. Well, when it gets released, make sure you let me know so I can add it to the show notes at that time.
Okay,
Because
cool.
podcasts are evergreen, and that means people can come and listen to it 20 years from now. They can come
Right.
hear us. Isn't that kind of cool?
It is so cool.
Yeah.
And have you written a book?
I have contributed to 2 books.
Okay.
And
as you were telling me before we went on that you had already seen 7 people today, and it's only 2:00. So I think you have a lot of material there.
Yes, but let's see here. This book here is called Get Past Your Shit.
Okay.
I have 1 chapter. It's the last chapter in here, and it's like a scene out of my life as a teenager going through a suicide attempt. Okay, so it's that. And then another.
You had a suicide attempt?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, before the age of 12.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And so stuff like that, like living in a dysfunctional family, having the attempt, these kind of things led to my decision to be a therapist. Social worker too. Like I had a social worker as a kid who was horrible. And so I was like, I don't think that's the way you're supposed to do it. So it just set the tone for me.
New Brunswick or in Maine?
New Brunswick.
Brunswick, uh-huh.
Yeah. And I'm sure New Brunswick has wonderful therapists and stuff. Like my mom's been in therapy and had better luck, I guess. The other book project I've contributed a devotional to is called Celebrating 365 Days of Gratitude. So it's just a 1-day devotional in here that I did. So I'm on Amazon now. I do plan to write my very own book at some point. I don't know when that will be. I didn't expect to be this busy doing private practice, therapy. Like I thought I would do it part-time and do more special projects as well, but I didn't expect the pandemic to make my life so busy. A lot of people needing help right now.
And how many, you have daughters?
I have 2 daughters and a son.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yep.
You're busy person.
Yeah. My oldest daughter is going to be 18 on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I'm going to take the day off and maybe just see like 1 or 2 people in crisis. Yeah. Not from group. I'll still do the group.
March 27th, she'll be 18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll still do the groups I'm signed up for because it's, it's not good to cancel new projects. But I'm talking about my 7 people.
Could just cancel that. We'll talk about that after the show, but we could cancel your 1 week if you want. It's okay.
You sure?
Yeah, sure. It just won't show up on the calendar.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take you up on that. Yeah, I haven't had a day off in I don't even remember when. So it's been 7 days a week with the pandemic.
Well, we don't want you to burn out, Karen.
No, I'm not gonna. I just take naps here and there. And I need to walk more. That's something I'm working on for self-care, is trying to get out and doing some walks.
Dog?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I have 3 kids and a husband. Who has time for a dog?
I've been trying to get a dog for a year. Just because I love dogs, first of all, but I would also, it would get me outside, especially in the winter. You have to go for a walk.
Yeah.
So I've been on a lot of like waiting lists to adopt a dog.
Wow. It wouldn't be that hard here.
No.
No, we have fish. I have a lot of pet allergies, so I don't really want a pet. My kids would love it, but also like, I think it's just super hard to keep things really clean with pets.
Yeah. Gotta vacuum a lot, I think.
Yeah. It's cool that you have OCD and want pets.
My OCD isn't a clean thing.
It's just that problematic thoughts.
Yeah, mine was more like sexual thoughts and stuff like that. So, you can imagine how kind of tormenting that was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it led me to all of this. So everything happens for a reason.
That's so true.
But your gratitude thing, do you do a gratitude journal, or do you like write things down that you're grateful for every day?
I did a project and it's based on a book and I'm going to butcher the title a little bit, but it's something like 1,000 gifts of gratitude. And so I wrote out 1,000 things that I'm grateful for. And so I would do 2 or 3 of them a day over the course of a year. And at the end of the year, I had 1,000. And you can't repeat yourself. So if you say, I'm grateful for my spouse, you can't say it more than once. So that was a really great project to do. So I did that. And I think I think gratitude is just so huge. I know that I practice, excuse me, thinking about gratitude just naturally, I guess. Like I was always the kid who, if I got a gift, I was always extremely appreciative of the gift and took very good care of it, that kind of thing. So I think it's a natural thing that I have. Both my grandmothers were very gracious and very giving. So I think maybe I got that from them as well.
I don't know where I learned it, but I started doing a gratitude journal back in, let's say, 2010, something like that. So I wouldn't do it every day. I would do it every Sunday, 3 things I'm grateful for. And with mine, you could repeat.
Right.
And, I don't do it every Sunday. I probably do it like once a month now, but it's really cool because you kind of go back, and I've been keeping all my journals. So you go back and you see like what I was grateful for back then and how sort of far I've come, especially like my insurance career, which as a broker, I started off with $0, $0 clients, 0 everything. And so you're really grateful for every step. And same with and then it taught me with this project, like when I have setbacks, I go, look, it hasn't even been a year. My insurance career, I'm in year number 8. And only like 2 years ago did I make like above the poverty line. So, and I came from I wouldn't say like when I was born, my family was rich or anything like that. But my father, when I was maybe around 10, he started doing really well. And so we lived in nice houses and had nice things, and money wasn't really a worry for me a lot of the time. And I was maybe a little spoiled kid. And then when I kind of had to go off on my own and the business went, and I, for years and years and years there, like in 2010 to 2014, 15, 16, I wasn't making a lot of money. It was actually a good thing for me because it was like, okay, now I value buying bananas at the store, and blueberries are a luxury to buy.
Yes.
And I think that was a good thing. And like, lucky me that I always had my parents there to kind of support me. I mean, I wasn't that poor off, you know what I mean? But still, they were good lessons, and I really actually am grateful for them.
Good. So that's one of your mental health practices is the gratitude journal. Anything else that you would recommend for people struggling?
I meditate. I learned to do that I think it was from reading the book Brain Lock, and sort of like when the thought comes, you kind of not ignore it, but you do some kind of mindfulness thing. So the language was kind of in there. And then I was doing, like, my friend invited me to yoga one time, and we did the Shavasana at the end, and it was like, wow, that was great. And then I went to like some thing to teach you meditation at like a library around me, and we kind of did it like the Kundalini meditation, and I like saw rainbow color, and I go, okay, I'm hooked. That's it. I'm gonna do meditation now. And I do it twice a day, as much as, as often. Sometimes I'll miss one here or there, but there's an app called Insight Timer.
Yep.
You know it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I like that. I used to just do like YouTube meditation music or whatever. But yeah, this Insight Timer is for guided meditations, which I like. And I really think it's like I'm thankful and I'm lucky that I'm busy. I really have full days, so that by like 6 o'clock, my 6 o'clock meditation, I do it, and then I'm like ready to go again for a couple more hours and get ready for the next day. And it's almost like a little life hack, for busy people. I really think it's a huge thing, because I think we can all get like overwhelmed and tired and burnt out from long days. And then you do that extra meditation. It's like, sometimes they turn into naps. But,
and that just means your body needed it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So I recommend that as well.
Good.
And in 2017, I also like went on a low dose of antidepressants, which I kind of resisted for a long time, but I think that's been also a really good thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. It's good to take meds when we need them. Yeah.
I think I was resistant and I just wanted to do the natural kind of remedies and just figure it out myself and change the neuroplasticity of my brain myself. And I was getting there and I don't know, maybe I fell into a little bit too dark of a hole for one period of time. I'm like, you know what? I think it's about time that I do this. I don't know. I think also maybe my cousin, she went on meds and that kind of maybe gave me the extra push there.
Mm-hmm. No, good for you. Why suffer when they make medicines that can help?
Yeah, I mean, now looking at it, I go, I'm really glad. It's like wearing glasses. If you need glasses, then wear glasses.
Exactly.
We're hunter-gatherers for millions of years. Now all of a sudden we're these people who work at computers. I mean, we're not really wired this way.
Right. Exactly. Any other tips for people's mental health that you recommend? The meditation's huge. Gratitude journal.
Come to our support groups.
Good plug-in. Yes. Yes. Why not come to our support groups? Like, it's a really great opportunity, so we encourage you to do that. I wanted to go back to the book that you talked about for OCD, because I had not heard of that book. Brain Lock?
Yep, Brain Lock.
Is that a Canadian author?
No, it's an American guy. I think Jeffrey Schwartz is his name. And it was, you talk to a couple of the other experts and they go, nah, that book like sort of missed out on some other things and like not enough ERP or whatever. I don't know. There are criticisms of it. But for me, it was more of the book to be like, wow, this is exactly what I have.
Yeah.
And then, I read that in 2012 and I probably read it a bunch of times more, but I haven't really gone back to read it again. Like I've kind of just worked on my own things and learned other tools, and you just, living with OCD is sort of like living with diabetes because you sort of always have it a little bit. It's just a matter of like figuring out how to manage it and
tweak treatment.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I got to know you a little better through this process. So thank you for being so open with our guests, because the more open we are in sharing our personal stories, it's going to help more people, and it also shows like, okay, well, these others, these professionals, we're professionals, if they're, willing to be open about their stories and get help and still help others, that can give other people's ideas on what their purpose could be.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to a client today and he's very gruff, older gentleman who served in the military a long time. And he was just so excited today. And it's because he decided he was going to be a therapist.
Oh, wow. And
he got accepted into grad school for it.
Nice.
So it was a really cool moment because he's been a grumpy bear before. So I'm really excited for him.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Any last minute words of wisdom before we sign off?
No, I mean, I just to hammer that point in, like, purpose. I mean, I think, we need water to live and we need purpose to live. So it's really all about finding your purpose and running with it. But easier said than done, I think, for a lot of people. I often ask my friends, like, if they're in between a job so I'll go, well, if you had $1 billion, but you still had to work, what would you do? So, the question is, take money out of the, money isn't an object anymore. So what do you love? What do you, what would sort of get you going? And it's an interesting question. What they go, well, I would do this. I go, well, then that's what you should do.
Very much so. All right. Well, thank you, Daniel.
I think you and I are doing what we love, right?
Absolutely. If I had to do it all over, same career path.
If you had $1 billion, we'd still be talking right now. I
think so. Yeah. I might have my hair done though, if I had that kind of money. I might have had the makeup artist come. I might have done a little bit of things differently.
Very good,
You're kind. All right. Well, thank you, Daniel, for being on our show today.
Okay.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.